After 3.5 months, the NHL Lockout is finally over, and teams are gearing up for a 48-game regular season, which is going to begin on January 19th. The new collective bargaining agreement will govern the league's operations for the next decade or so. So let's review some of its major features. First of all, we're talking about splitting the revenues. Under the old deal, players received 57% of all hockey-related revenue, and over the course of time, that's going to whittle down to more of a 50-50 split between the players and owners. Now, in practical terms, what this means is this year's salary cap of $70.2 million is going to decline next year. It's going to go down to $64.3 million. And that's going to force some teams to make some adjustments, whether that's through trading players away or buying out their contracts this summer. Look for teams like the Montreal Canadiens, Chicago Blackhawks, perhaps the Philadelphia Flyers, to all make moves on that front in order to fit under the cap for next season. Now, not only is the salary cap coming down, but also the range between the cap and floor is going to get a bit wider under the new collective bargaining agreement. Under the old deal, you had a fixed $16 million range between the top and bottom salaries that NHL teams could have. And back in 2005, a small market team could have as low as a $23 million payroll. But last season, that had more than doubled to $48 million. And it was causing a lot of pain for small market teams that perhaps couldn't keep up. Going forward, the cap and floor will be defined as 15% the difference from the salary cap median. And that should allow, as league revenues grow, that should allow those small market teams to keep pace a little more easily. Now, general managers are going to have a new tool available to them in order to make trades. And that is, they're going to be able to retain some of the salary and salary cap charge of a player when trying to make a trade. For example, let's say you have a team that has a $5 million winger that they want to trade to another team in order to, say, fit under the cap or just in general make that move. But their trading partner can't afford to take on that entire burden. Under some very specific guidelines that are being laid out in this new CBA, the first team can retain some of that salary cap charge, and help kind of grease the wheels to make those kind of trades happen. It should be seen as a benefit that will allow trades to take place that otherwise would not have under the old system. But that's enough about the CBA. Let's turn our attention to the ice and focus on what are going to be some of the major storylines in the season ahead. We'll start off, of course, with the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Los Angeles Kings. They're going to raise that banner to the rafters on opening night, but they're going to have to start without star winger Anze Kopitar, who recently had a partial tear of his MCL while playing overseas. He's going to be out for a couple of weeks, and with a few extra months to work through that championship hangover, it'll be interesting to see whether the Kings are ready to compete right from game one. Out east, the focus is going to be on the Pittsburgh Penguins, where it's hoped that Sidney Crosby will be ready to take part in a full regular season. He's lost major portions of the last two seasons due to injury concerns, and as the league struggles to regain its relevance on the North American sports landscape, having its #1 star on the ice will prove essential to that effort. Now, the Penguins were also involved in one of the major trades of last summer. On draft day, they sent center Jordan Staal to the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes also made a splashy free agent pick with winger Alexander Semin. And so Carolina is going to be one of the more interesting teams to follow this year and see how all that talent gels for them up front. Another major trade saw the Columbus Blue Jackets send their captain Rick Nash to the New York Rangers in what may turn out to be the juggernaut of the Eastern Conference. Now out west, the big news was made in Minnesota, where the Wild signed the two biggest free agents of the summer, wingers Zach Parise and defenseman Ryan Suter. Will that dynamic duo prove enough to lift Minnesota back into the playoffs? Only time will tell. We'll be following these and many other stories here on this YouTube channel, so make sure you're subscribed. I'm Dirk Hoag of On the Forecheck.